So, in an act of calculated mercy, Caesar spares her life. They don't strangle her in the Tullianum. They exile her. They send her to the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, in present-day Turkey, the sacred sanctuary where theoretically no one can touch her. Arsinoe breathes. Thinks she's survived. Thinks religious asylum will protect her. But Rome has a long and vengeful memory, and her sister Cleopatra has an even better one. Years pass. Caesar dies under 23 stabs. Mark Antony takes control of the East and falls under Cleopatra's spell. And one night, amid pillow whispers and war strategies, Cleopatra makes a simple request. She wants her sister's head. Arsinoe is a threat. As long as she breathes, she's a rival to the Egyptian throne. What happens next is a violation of all divine and human laws of antiquity. Roman assassins sent by Mark Antony arrive in Ephesus. They enter the sacred sanctuary. Arsinoe clings to the goddess statue, screaming for asylum, invoking divine protection respected for centuries. The Roman soldiers don't care. They tear her from the altar, slit her throat right there on the temple steps. Her blood stains the sacred ground. It's an atrocious sacrilege that horrifies the Greek world, but it sends a brutally clear message. There is no refuge. There are no gods to protect you from Rome. If the state wants your death, it will find you at the end of the world, or on the altar of your gods, and kill you like a dog. This story, the image of her sister dragged and then executed like a cornered animal, is seared into Cleopatra's mind. She watches from afar, takes notes, learns the most important lesson of her life. Never let them capture you alive. Because Cleopatra knows if she ever loses, Rome will not show the same mercy. And the day comes. Mark Antony's fleet burns at Actium. Octavian's legions march toward Alexandria. The war is over. Cleopatra has lost. But Octavian doesn't want to kill her. He needs her for his triumph. He needs the great Egyptian queen walking in chains through Rome's streets to legitimize his power. She's the centerpiece of his political coronation. He sends messengers promising safety. Cleopatra laughs. She knows Roman cruelty. She knows Octavian wants her in a cage. She barricades herself in a mausoleum. It becomes a psychological chess game. Can the most powerful man in the world prevent a woman from committing suicide? Octavian is desperate. He doesn't want a corpse. He wants a prisoner. He knows a Roman triumph without Cleopatra is like a wedding without a bride. It's a theatrical failure. He sends his trusted man Proculus with strict orders. While an envoy distracts Cleopatra talking through the barred door, Proculus places a ladder against the outer wall. He climbs silently, slips through a high window, runs down the stone stairs. One of Cleopatra's maids screams, "Queen, they have captured you!" Cleopatra turns, sees the Roman. Her reaction is instinctive, animal. She pulls a dagger hidden in her tunic. She doesn't try to attack the soldier. She aims at her own chest. She wants to end it before Roman hands touch her. But Proculus is fast. He lunges, grabs her wrist in midair, twists the arm until the metal falls to the ground. Proculus shakes her tunic, searches for poison, searches for weapons, checks her like a street criminal. The Queen of Egypt, the last pharaoh, has been disarmed. Now she's officially a prisoner. The following days are slow psychological torture. Octavian allows her to bury Mark Antony, but then locks her up again. They remove every sharp object. They watch her day and night. They want her to recover, to eat, to regain her beauty. Octavian needs her to look magnificent for the parade, not haggard and sick. Cleopatra tries to seduce him, not with sex, but with intellect and pity. She throws herself at his feet. Octavian remains cold. He's not the passionate Caesar, not the exuberant Mark Antony. He's a bureaucrat of death, then a young Roman officer, sympathetic to the queen's legend, whispers the truth. You and your children will go to Rome. You're going to walk in the triumph. That's the sentence. There will be no comfortable exile. There will be chains, mockery, spit, and probably execution at the end. Cleopatra makes her decision. It's not desperation. It's her last military maneuver. She will outflank Octavian. She will steal his victory. She asks for a bath, dresses in her best royal finery, the tunics of the goddess Isis, asks for a sumptuous dinner, and writes a letter. A single letter addressed to Octavian. She gives it to a guard to take to the Roman camp. As soon as the guard leaves, the trap closes. Octavian receives the letter in his tent, opens it, reads the first line. I beg you to bury me beside Mark Antony. The color drains from the future emperor's face. He understands instantly. It's not a request. It's a suicide note. It's a declaration of victory. Run, he shouts to his guards. Stop her. But Rome arrives too late. The soldiers knock down the doors. Cleopatra lies on a golden bed, her two maids dying at her feet, adjusting the diadem on their lady's head with their last breaths. The queen is dead. The asp's poison, or perhaps a toxic mixture hidden in a hollow of her headdress. A furious Roman soldier, angry at losing his victory bonus, shakes one of the dying maids. Was this well done of your lady? The maid looks at her perfect, untouchable queen and answers with antiquity's most defiant phrase. Yes, soldier, it is exceedingly well done. It is worthy of a descendant of so many kings. And she dies. Octavian enters, sees the body, knows he's lost. He's conquered Egypt, yes, but she's chosen her own end. She will not be a toy in his parade. She's become an untouchable myth. However, the triumph in Rome must continue. The people expect a queen. Octavian cannot disappoint them. And what he does next is one of the most pathetic acts of Roman propaganda. If he cannot have the real queen, he'll fabricate one. Months later, in Rome's streets, the crowd roars. The parade passes. And there, in chains, goes Cleopatra. But she's not flesh and blood. She's a statue. A wax or gold effigy dragged on a cart with a painted snake biting her arm. It's a farce. The people know it. Octavian knows it. Rome applauds. But the taste of victory is bittersweet. They've seen the statue, but they know the real woman escaped his clutches. This is Rome's treatment of captive queens. Chains, humiliation, execution, or worse, survival without dignity. But here's the twist that makes this entire story even darker. Here's the lesson Rome itself learned the hard way. The wheel of fortune always turns, and when it crushes Rome, it does so with the same cruelty Rome taught the world. Let me show you what happened when a Roman emperor became the captive, when the roles reversed, when it was Rome's turn to taste the humiliation it had perfected over centuries. Year 260 AD, desert near Edessa. The Roman army is decimated by plague and surrounded by Sasanian Persian cavalry. In the command tent, Emperor Valerian makes a desperate decision. He will not fight. He will negotiate. He believes his title, Rome's majesty, grants him diplomatic immunity. He believes Shapur I, the Persian king of kings, will respect civilized rules. Valerian goes out to meet with his personal guard. He walks toward the enemy camp, expecting political debate. What he finds is an ambush. There's no negotiation. Shapur doesn't want to talk. He wants to collect. Persian soldiers pounce on the imperial entourage. They disarm the emperor, throw him to the ground. Chains close on the wrists of the man who rules the Mediterranean. It's absolute conceptual collapse. Rome's god emperor is now private property of a foreign king. Valerian isn't sent to a dark prison. Shapur has a far more theatrical and cruel imagination. He takes the emperor with him, not as a war prisoner, but as an exotic pet. The humiliation that follows is so specific and degrading that Roman historians can barely write it without trembling. Shapur is a warrior. He spends his days on horseback, and every morning when the King of Kings wants to mount his stallion, he doesn't use a wooden block. He doesn't use a stone. He shouts a name. Valerian! The Augustus, father of the fatherland, is dragged from his cage. They force him to get on all fours in the dust, hands and knees planted in the earth. Shapur places his leather boot on the Roman emperor's back. He uses the spine of the most powerful man in the West as a step to boost himself into the saddle every day. In front of the entire Persian army, in front of ambassadors from other nations. Can you imagine that? Being used as a human stepping stool? Feeling the weight of your conqueror on your back every single morning? Valerian feels the physical weight of the Persian king, but the symbolic weight is infinite. Every time Shapur mounts his horse stepping on Rome's neck, he sends a visual message to the entire known world. Rome is not invincible. Rome is my stool. The emperor lives like this for months, perhaps still wearing the dirty rags of his purple tunic, turned into a living piece of furniture. Ransom pleas are ignored. Shapur doesn't want gold. He already has all the gold he wants. He wants to enjoy the slow destruction of Roman pride. And when Valerian finally has the decency to die, probably from shame and exhaustion, though some say they made him drink molten gold in a final mockery of Roman greed, his torment doesn't end. Shapur calls his taxidermists, skins the emperor's corpse, tears the skin in one piece with surgical care, tans it, dyes it intense red, the imperial color, then stuffs it with straw and sews the limbs. Valerian's stuffed body hangs in Persia's main temple, a grotesque scarecrow with a Caesar's face. For decades, every time a Roman ambassador arrives at the Persian court to negotiate, the first thing shown is the skin of their former emperor hanging on the wall, staring at them with empty eyes. It's the brutal reminder that power is a fragile illusion. Rome, master of chaining queens and strangling kings, has tasted its own medicine. The wheel has turned completely. This is the true face of empire. Not the laws, not the aqueducts, not the Stoic philosophy. It's the industrial capacity to turn human beings, kings and queens, anointed by gods, into mere theater accessories. But history has a macabre sense of humor. Centuries later, the barbarians returned. This time, they didn't come in chains. Alaric the Goth didn't walk behind a chariot. He entered through the Salarian gate with sword in hand. When Rome fell, there was no triumph, no organized parade, only fire, screams, and the final collapse of the machinery that had ground the world for 1,000 years. If you want more untold stories from ancient and medieval history, stories that reveal what lies beneath civilization's beautiful surface, subscribe to Medieval Survival right now. Hit that notification bell, because next time, I'm revealing another empire's treatment of captives, another system of humiliation that history tried to bury. And trust me, it will make Rome look merciful by comparison. The names are still carved in stone. The truth is still waiting, and we're going to dig it up.